Welcome to the Home Team Podcast. I'm Carl Falconer.
And I'm Danny Arroyo.
And we're tackling homelessness.
Today in our podcast, we will discuss two of our passions, football and ending homelessness. Please join us through 4 quarters with our topic this week being, what is shallow subsidy? So how was your weekend?
It was good. A lot of football.
No.
So that was good. That was very good.
Good.
So it started, I guess, actually last Thursday with the college football playoffs. So that's going on. Congratulations to the the Hurricanes and Indiana Hoosiers, who are now in the final coming up, I guess, next Monday. I guess it'll be.
Okay.
So, so I watched that, then went right into the NFL and,
Nice.
Tried to do some work this weekend, trying to research a little about the pit count coming up, the point-in-time count. I went out and drove some of the zones.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because I'm not as familiar with those zones, so I'm trying to become a
you
little
went to
more
Seminole?
familiar. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so I'm trying to get familiar with the area,
My zone's near where I live.
Oh, it
They
is.
zoned me in Apopka. Yeah.
How sweet is
I know. I was
that?
like,
Look at you.
can I just go home and leave volunteers?
There you go.
No.
There you go. Very nice.
So, yeah, it's out there. I saw it on the
Yeah,
map.
how about you? How was your weekend?
Went to see a show at Dr. Phillips, which was fantastic. Great show. It was called And Juliet. Really, really good. Yeah.
I know. You came back raving
Yeah, it
about
was fantastic. Yeah, Joey Fatone from NSYNC is in that for those that are older.
There you go. Okay.
And then we went car shopping for my daughter and
That's right.
Yeah.
You ended up with a new ride.
and I ended up getting one as well. So
I was wondering who was parking in your parking
I know,
spot.
yeah. So it was a busy weekend, and then try to catch some football here and there. I caught some of it the Saturday night when I was waiting to see the show. I kind of text you about it,
Right.
and caught a little bit on Sunday, but doing housework and stuff. So
Yeah. Did you happen to see those Bears?
No, my channel doesn't change to that.
Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't change to that.
It's blocked.
Oh.
It's blocked.
Okay. I hear you.
I didn't even know they were playing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yes, we'll get to that.
I'll fill you in, Danny. Don't worry. You don't ever have to worry about Bears updates.
I know you'll fill me.
I got you covered, man.
Yes. All right.
All right. Well, as always, we will start with our coin flip. Danny, go ahead and call it in the air.
Tails.
It is heads, so I will start us off.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to our first quarter. I'm going to kick off by defining our topic of the week, and then we'll cover some news headlines and announce the results from last week's home team locks of the week. All right, so as Danny said, our topic this week is shallow subsidy. A shallow subsidy is a form of housing assistance that provides a small, fixed amount of financial support to help households afford rent without fully covering the gap between their income and the total housing cost. Unlike deep subsidies, which adjust based on the income and can pay most of the rent, a shallow subsidy offers partial assistance that reduces but does not eliminate a household's housing cost burden. It is typically designed to make housing more affordable for low to moderate income households who are struggling with rent but do not require long-term or full rental assistance. Shallow subsidies are often used to prevent housing instability, reduce the risk of homelessness, and support short-term financial resilience by helping households remain in or access modestly priced housing. There we go. So we haven't done this yet, Danny.
Nope.
I'm a little more familiar with this. I've seen it a couple of places. I've never really run a shallow subsidy program. I don't think anyway. Hold on, I'm thinking back on my career. But no, I don't think we've actually run a shallow subsidy program. We do have, I guess, some form of shallow subsidy here because we give a subsidy for rent to make the rent even lower for everybody that comes in, but that's not the same thing.
Right.
This is a different type of program. So this is more of, for those of you who are familiar with some politics or some finances, this is more like a universal basic income type of thing, where you basically just give a check to, a client who is low income usually, sometimes struggling with, housing instability or paying their rent or paying their bills or whatever the case is. So you give them this subsidy for a certain amount of time. Usually it's a pretty decent amount of time, about 2 years is what I've seen for most of them. But it's usually a small amount, and it's meant to help them sustain themselves in housing while they increase their income or they increase their situation. So, give you an example. So, you've got a single mother who's working 2 jobs, has a couple of kids, and she's trying to make it, right. And of course, the rent is really high or whatever the case is. So she's barely making it from month to month. You give her, let's say, $300 a month, right? It doesn't seem like a whole lot. It doesn't pay her whole rent. But that little $300 extra that she gets each month can make a difference in different things that she can do and being able to help her move to the next level. So she might be able to take a college class that might get her a higher paying job,
Right.
or she might be able to, afford daycare, which might allow her to work some overtime hours.
So the subsidy is not, you're giving, again, I don't have a lot of experience with it, but shallow
Sure.
subsidy, you give the person the check.
Yes.
They can use it as
However they want.
So they're not putting it to rent unless they want to.
Unless they want to.
Oh,
That's
gotcha.
exactly right.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's,
That's pretty cool.
It's absolutely.
Okay.
The way it works is they get this amount. Now, usually it's put in like their bank account.
Right.
Something like that. It's not cash.
Yeah.
But yeah, it goes right into their bank account. They can count on it, and then they use it however they need to use it. And it allows that flexibility, which is one of the real strengths of this, I think, is it really empowers people to help them make better decisions about their spending. Because, we talked about this before. When rents go up and income doesn't go up, people have to start making hard choices about whether they're going to buy their medications, whether they're going to buy food this week, or
daycare, like you said.
Daycare, or maybe get a car fixed, or whatever it is, whatever that flexible thing is.
So I guess getting that money you'll have to set criterias of who can get it.
Correct.
What's the okay?
Yeah, and that's usually the biggest issue with shallow subsidy is who gets it.
Right.
And trying to predict, because again we go back to, it's kind of like prevention.
Right.
Is it's trying to predict. Instead, it's almost exactly like prevention, except it's not one time.
Right.
It's a long term.
Right.
It's long term, and the idea again is to help people over a long stretch so that they get to a higher level of income or get to a better place, and then they don't need it any longer.
And again, if they're getting case managed, they can start helping the case manager start helping them budget themselves better and get them.
No, shallow subsidy doesn't come with
Really?
case management. That's the other part of it.
Gotcha.
Usually, anyway. Not that most shallow subsidy programs don't have something available.
Okay.
People can check in or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not a case management. It's not a service type of thing. It's literally just giving them dollars.
Interesting.
And again, which is why you have to pick a very specific group of people to be able to get the dollars. So we'll talk more about it later.
Yeah. And we've talked about hopefully doing it here too. So
Yeah, absolutely.
all right, so now let's take a look at some of the headlines from the homeless world. So in Orange County, Florida, right where we are, Orange County leaders have approved new funding to expand temporary housing at the Samaritan Resource Homeless Services Drop-In Center. We know them very well.
Yes, we do.
Allowing more families in crisis to accept short-term shelter and support. So what you need to know. Orange County approved $335,500 to expand temporary housing at the Homeless Services Drop-In Center. Funding opens all 30 units, increasing capacity to help up to 100 families each year. The total contract with the Samaritan Resource Center now stands at $1.45 million. Families receive short-term housing and wraparound services to prevent a return to homelessness. According to the center's executive director, the program focuses on stabilizing families quickly and helping them move into permanent housing. The goal is to house families who are out on the street who are experiencing homelessness, says Zaynep Portway, executive director of the Samaritan Resource Center. We put them in a hotel, work with them on either increasing their income or help them get a job, and then within 12 to 16 weeks, we help them get into a place and move into their own apartment and sign their own lease. Anna Garcia says that she and her children became homeless 2 months ago and had nowhere else to go. She says the center stepped in quickly, providing housing, child care support, and essential resources. They've been providing us with literally anything I asked for, Garcia said. Just having her be in a safe, warm spot has been a blessing. Leaders at the Samaritan Resource Center says that expanding funding allows them to continue offering short-term housing paired with wraparound services such as case management, employment assistance, mental health support, and access to food and basic supplies, all aimed at helping families achieve long-term stability.
That's fantastic.
That's really good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good article.
Yeah.
And we know Zainab Z
Z.
very well.
Yep. You do a lot of work.
She's fantastic. And
lot of
the
good
work
work
that
out
they
there.
do at Samaritan Resource Center is really great. The thing I really love about this headline is that, again, they talk about the housing. Is it's all focused on getting them moved into long-term housing.
Yeah.
And I have to say, to Z's credit, the Samaritan Resource has come a long way in that
has.
in that regard. They used to be just a regular drop-in center, and then they've expanded their services, and they really started focusing on that housing and making sure people get into housing rather than just giving them,
just regular services,
regular day services
showers
that
and
they
laundries
get.
and stuff. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's really good for them.
Absolutely,
good for them.
Really good article, and I'm glad to see that.
All right, and let's see how our Bears did this week.
Okay, so you've already given up on the Cowboys.
I changed it.
Okay, fair enough.
So it's all about you today.
All right,
so let's see
great.
how the Bears did this week.
Yes, absolutely. So as you may know, Danny, the Bears are in the playoffs.
I heard.
They're doing very well. This last week, we hosted the Green Bay Packers in Chicago, and we came away with the victory.
Very good.
You probably needed to censor that first half for me. It was 21-3 Green Bay going into the half.
Yeah.
So was not exactly happy with that.
I thought there wasn't going to be a podcast today.
I was texting with my brother and my best friend, and I had some unpleasant things to say. Let's just say that. At one point, Danny, the Packers ran the same exact play on us to score the second touchdown.
Wow.
And I was like, as they did the first touch, I'm like, are we not
see
even
it?
watching the game, or what's the deal here?
That's insane.
Oh, it was, Anyway, I was a little upset. But then they turned it around. The defense came to play,
They scored 25 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Is fantastic.
But the defense really held them in the second half. I mean, they came back and just dominated, which is great.
Very good.
Fantastic. Couldn't happen to a nicer team either. The Packers.
They get to live another week.
Us. Next week, Danny, we play at home again because we're the number 2 seed.
So you have home advantage.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we
good.
get to play against the Los Angeles Rams, who beat Carolina Panthers.
That's the game I was seeing.
The first week.
Yeah, that's the game I was seeing.
So they're going to be tough. They got a really good offense and some pretty good defense. So it's going to be tough, but we're going to have to go. And this puts me in kind of a quandary because I picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. But now I kind of want the Bears to go to the Super Bowl. So we'll see how it turns out.
I think the Bears is more important than the Super Bowl prediction, I think.
That's probably true.
My prediction's gone. So Ravens are gone. Philly's gone.
Both of them got knocked out. Mine's both still alive.
Yeah, my season is officially over.
There you go. Exactly.
All
right. Well, that wraps up the first quarter. We will be back after this break.
Hello, I'm Danny Arroyo, Vice President of Programs at Pathlight Home. If you're new to our mission, welcome. We're dedicated to changing the lives of those experiencing homelessness and hardship through housing, support services, and career training. What began as one dream for a compassionate solution to homelessness has become a reality. Since our funding, we've provided housing for more than 8,000 people, offering shelter, opportunity, and hope. This month, as we honor National Homeless Awareness Month, we are also kicking off our end-of-year campaign, a time to come together and give back. Every contribution, whether monetary or in kind, directly supports our residents and the community we serve. No gift is too small to make a difference. As we celebrate our journey from dream to reality, thank you for being part of this mission. Together we can make the dream of ending homelessness a reality in our community. This is the second quarter. We are getting a little deeper into homelessness topic with something we call offense versus defense. We will each take turns discussing some opposing viewpoints of our topic this week. The question we asked this week is, should more funding be going directly to participants and not through agencies? Please remember that we are trying to show both sides of the issue. These do not necessarily reflect our individual stances on these positions. So, Carl, you have offense this week.
I do. And before we get into offense, I just want to say that this is, I think, one of the more controversial things. But I've heard people say this before, that they're not so sure with the amount of money that we're spending in the homeless response system that we shouldn't just pay people, just give people the money and let them do what they need to do. So that's kind of the question we're trying to talk about this week. Anyway, on offense, so I say yes. Should more funding be going directly to participants and not through agencies? I say yes, and here are some of the reasons why I would argue that. Autonomy and dignity. Participants can prioritize their own needs and make their own choices about how to best use the funds, which helps restore a sense of control and self-worth often lost during homelessness. Next, efficiency. Direct cash transfers bypass the administrative costs associated with in-kind aid, like transporting and storing goods, different things like that, and making the aid delivery more efficient and immediate. Next, improved outcomes. Studies have shown positive effects on housing stability, physical and mental health, reduced anxiety and stress, as an example, and improved engagement with services when combined with support. Next, economic stimulus. Money injected directly into the community is spent locally, supporting local businesses and services. And finally, smart spending. Evidence from various programs shows recipients primarily spend funds on necessities like food, housing, and transportation, not what they call the temptation goods like drugs or alcohol, countering the public mistrust.
All right, I have the defense. So first, benefit cliffs. Receiving cash assistance can sometimes make recipients ineligible for other existing means-tested government benefits, such as SNAP, reducing the overall impact of the aid. Next, public perception. There can be significant public mistrust in individuals experiencing homelessness, ability to manage money, which can be a barrier to political and community support for such programs. Next, implementation barriers. Challenges exist in effectively enrolling participants, maintaining contact for follow-ups, and managing data collection, which can lead to high participant attrition in studies. Insufficient funds. In high-cost areas, particularly for housing, the amount of cash transferred may not be enough on its own to solve structural issues like securing permanent housing, requiring combination with other supports. And last, structural issues. Cash alone cannot fix systematic problems like a lack of affordable housing, poor public services, or a criminal record, which require broader policy solutions. So I think with yours, the first one, the autonomy and dignity, I think that's a big one. I worked somewhere where they had to, the clients had to open a bank account and a savings account, but then it was controlled and managed, and you had to ask permission to take some money out, which was like, I'm working for this.
Doesn't solve the problem.
Exactly.
Right?
So it's like you're asking for money that's yours. Like,
exactly.
Like you're a child asking for, what you call
exactly.
So that just doesn't work. I think the improved outcomes, again, I think that, again, the mental health, reduce anxiety and stress, because they have their money that they can work with.
Absolutely.
And budget themselves. And the last one, which is fantastic, is we know that if you have money, you're going to spend on food and housing and transportation to get to work. And,
absolutely.
But again, it's that kind of perception that I mentioned in mine.
That's right.
Where people think, oh, you're going to just use drugs and you're just going to buy alcohol with it.
Well, and that's the thing, is that if they do, in fact, use it for drugs or alcohol or something else, it shows them, and psychologically what I've seen is it has an effect on people who then realize, I really do have a problem here.
Right.
And I need to get some help for this, and I need to go to a substance abuse recovery program, or I need to go get some help for these things, because this obviously is a problem. I got more money, and I'm ending up with less money at the end of the month.
Right, exactly.
That's not the way it should work. But in most cases, like you said, people realize where their deficits are, and they realize where they would like to have a little bit more money to be able to spend. but so it's those things like food, housing, and transportation that they really want to be able to talk about.
Definitely.
In terms of your things, I agree with the first one in particular, benefit cliffs. You're right. If you sometimes the shallow subsidy, that's where they run into some of the problems. If you give them extra income, then it takes away from other sources of income, and that's not the idea with the what do you call it? With shallow subsidy, the idea is you add to their income, not you take away. So if I give you $300, but then I take away $200 worth of your food stamps, that doesn't solve the problem. Then it's only a net gain of $100, and that's not as much as it needs
It's like
to go.
you're penalizing them for getting one thing, and then you take it from the other. So,
public perception, I think, is one of the really big things.
Yep.
And the reality is that if you talk to people and they say, "Oh, well, we shouldn't, give people money for this, that, the other thing," then you say, "Well, what about us? What about people who are not in these situations? We get free money too. We just don't think about it." But if you think about it, things like tax breaks that we get. So if you own a house, you get an extra tax break.
Yep.
If you have a child, you get extra tax breaks. If you there's all kinds of reasons why people can get tax breaks and get incentives for things that they get. Heck, a bonus at a job is extra money that you may or may not have earned. It may have just come from the entire company, doing the work that they need to do. So any of these kinds of things, people don't understand that these things actually, count as kind of a shallow subsidy or free money that they get. And anytime they get free money, look, gifts that you get from people or whatever the case is, it's your birthday and you get a whole bunch of money coming in. Do you think we should manage your money? Because, so I'm going to give you $100 for your birthday, but I'm going to tell you can only spend it on this exact thing or that exact thing.
It's something you said a while ago. I think we were talking about outreach and giving, kind of panhandling and giving money to people.
Right, yeah.
It's if you give it, but you're coming with conditions on it, then don't give it.
Then don't give it. That's exactly right.
But if you're going to give it to them and say, here, use it on whatever it is, and then once you're done, that's it.
Right.
It's none of your business what they spend it on.
No, it isn't.
This is similar to that.
That's exactly
right. We're giving
right.
you $300, use it however you want to use it.
That is exactly right. And again, I do agree on your side with the structural issues and the insufficient funds. Because, generally, no matter how much you give somebody, there's going to be some gap there. But the reality is that people who are low income have shown time and time again their ability not only to survive on a low income, but to be able to make it work. And so if you give them just a little extra and they can use it the same way that they've been using their less than, well, then the reality is that they're going to make this really work. So they'll turn $300 into $600 worth of whatever it is that they're trying to get because they know how to do that.
Right, exactly.
We think that people are poor, that people who are low income are poor money managers. They are the best money managers. Why? They have to be.
They have to make things stretch.
They have to make things stretch. They know how much, how you can get 5 ramen noodles for $1.
Exactly.
How you can get mac and cheese for, $1 a box or buy one, get one or whatever the case. They know these tricks about stretching money. So to give them a little extra for a shallow subsidy really makes sense. So, back to our main question, should more funding be going directly to participants and not through agencies? There's this battle that goes on. We at agencies really try to keep our costs low, right? We really try and keep our administrative costs down. And, we talked about that in some of this is the administrative costs that go along with this. Is, it's a reason why you might want to give people directly money because, again, we go back to panhandling. Panhandling, and I said this is kind of a joke, but it's the reality, is there's no administrative fees, there's no taxes they have to pay, there's nothing of that. $100 given to a panhandler is $100 that they get to spend.
Yep.
It's the same thing with the shallow subsidy, as opposed to going through an agency. So even if you donate money to us, there is a portion we have to take for administrating those dollars. Right. I mean, it's just a fact of life. We have to, there's a little bit. Now, we try and take as little as absolute possible. because we really want to pass it through to the people that are there. But the reality is that a shallow subsidy is the only way that they can get 100% of those proceeds.
It's exactly there for them. Yeah,
Exactly.
All right, so Pathlight's position, we believe that shallow subsidy programs can work because they empower people to make their own decisions and help them prioritize their own recovery. The key is to make sure that there is a process for determining who really needs the hand up.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, is that whole who gets it.
Who gets it, yeah.
And how do they get it, and you've got to work out all those details ahead of time.
Right.
And like I said, in the programs that I've seen that can really work, they really, really dig down onto what are the factors that we need to use to choose the people.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. And things like, has someone been homeless previously? Has someone, is someone receiving some other kind of benefit? Any of these kind of barriers that they have, those are factors that should go into who gets into these types of programs. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, well, we've made it to the halfway point, and during halftime, we want to take a moment for fan interaction and highlight an inspired quote related to housing and homelessness.
All right. So now let's take a moment to hear from our listeners. So, Carl, the first question is from Henry. If we just give people free money, won't they just sit around and not work?
Oh, that's a good question, right? This is something that we hear from people, right? If you give people free money, again, I'll go back to, I guess it was Andrew Yang was running for president, political candidate.
Yep.
And he had the idea about universal basic income, which is basically where everybody gets a certain amount of money each month. They just get a check each month, and you don't have to worry about it. But the idea was also then you cut back on the welfare programs, right?
Yep.
Is that you just give everybody a certain amount of money each month, and you let them decide where they want to use it or how they want to use it. Yes and no. And again, this is where the shallow subsidy program comes in, is if you target it the right way and you set up your program the right way, then you will not give free money to people who would sit around and not work.
Right.
I'm sure there are probably people who would sit around and not do anything if they knew they could get their bills paid. The second thing with shallow subsidy, and again, we're talking about giving people free money. The reality is shallow subsidy never makes up the whole difference, and that's one of the reasons why, is because you don't want people, you don't want to say, okay, I'm going to give you, $5,000 a month to be able to live on. That's not what a shallow subsidy program is. Shallow subsidy program might be $300 a month.
Right.
Well, nobody can live on $300 a month. It's just an extra thing for people who are already working or people who are already making it and surviving on a lower income base.
It's giving you that little extra to not have to stress every month.
That's right.
Of you being short $300 because that $300 is coming in, and like you said earlier, you can use it on whatever you want, but you have that buffer. To kind of mess with and do something with.
And that's exactly what it is. It's a buffer or an extra or a cushion, however you want to think about it. And so I think the reality is that yes, there are probably some people who would sit around if they got all of their costs taken care of. But let me tell you, there are plenty of people who are rich who sit around and don't work when they've put money into an investment or something, and it's just making money for them, and they don't do anything after that. There's plenty of people like that too on the other side.
Exactly.
So, I think it's human nature that some people certainly would slack off, but I don't think most people would.
All right. The next question comes from Tina. With all the cuts to subsidy programs to low-income people nowadays, do you ever think we will be able to give money directly to people in the future?
Ooh, that's a good one. This one speaks, I think, more to the political climate that we're in currently, is that we're really, at least, at the federal level and in some state levels too, they're really trying to move away from those subsidy type programs. And the further we move away from those types of programs, the less likely it is things like shallow subsidy program will be available to people because they don't see the value in it. But again, we've talked about this, Danny. Unfortunately, most politicians haven't had to go through these subsidy programs. And because they haven't struggled, because they haven't, had time where they were low income or they had to get by month to month, a lot of them are making decisions about things they don't know about. And they think in their mind that it's one way, when in reality it's a completely different way. So I think as long as we still have people who understand how people are struggling and how they're going through, then we have a chance to be able to continue to do things like the shallow subsidy program or things like that. But the further we get away from that and the more people we get into positions of power that have no idea what this is like to be able to struggle from day to day, well, then we're going to get further and further away from people.
They're out of touch, and they don't understand the person living in that situation, what they're going through. They're just seeing it from a different view, and then to try to change their mind is nearly impossible at times.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once they have their mindset, that's it.
Yep,
So,
absolutely. All right, well, it's time to get inspired by our quote of the week. This comes from the author Bradley Vinson, who said, "Money is only a tool. It will take you wherever you wish, but it will not replace you as the driver." I think that's a good one. And I think with shallow subsidy, I think that's really the point. We've talked about that, is the empowerment, is the ability to be able to give people that free will to be able to do things on their own. I think that's the whole point of this is, money is great and it's wonderful, but it's not going to replace who spends it or how they spend it.
Right.
I mean, you're always going to have to take control of your money. You can be foolish with it or you can be, practical with it.
Yeah, it's however you want to spend those dollars on. But, at least it's coming and you can figure out what you want to do with it. But are you gonna use it wisely, or are you gonna stay stuck where you're at?
That's exactly right.
Again, you said it depends on the person.
Yeah, it does.
And where they're at and what they're trying to do, and so
absolutely. Which is why it's so important, again, to go back to the shallow subsidy program is really to determine who those people are that are really going to make the best use of the dollars.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and that concludes our halftime. Please stay with us after this short message.
Hello, I'm Gigi Ramirez, the Senior Director of Fundraising and Engagement here at Pathlight Home. For over 30 years, we've helped more than 8,000 people transition from homelessness to hope. But when someone moves from the streets to their own home, they often have nothing. That's why we provide immediate essentials, everything from bedding and food to soap and cookware, to help them truly feel at home. Beyond housing, Pathlight offers career training and supportive services, like our 12-week culinary program, helping residents gain skills, find jobs, and rebuild independence. You can be part of the story. Volunteer your time, donate essential goods, or become a monthly Pathlight hero, ensuring every neighbor has a chance to thrive. Visit pathlighthome.org to donate today.
It's now time to kick off the third quarter by highlighting the goodwill and good work in the NFL community and announcing our NFL home team locks of the week. All right, so I'll start it off with our NFL player of the week. Our NFL player of the week this week is Solomon Thomas, a defensive tackle for the Dallas Cowboys. He is heavily involved in giving back, primarily through his foundation, the Defensive Line, TDL, which focuses on mental health and suicide prevention after his sister's death. He leads initiatives like youth camps promoting mental wellness, donates to mental health services, partners with organizations for food insecurity, and inspires teammates to get involved in community work, earning him the NFL Player Association MVP honors. Key initiatives and contributions that go along with this. The TDL, the Defensive Line, his foundation, co-founded with his parents. TDL educates adults on youth suicide, increases mental health conversation skills, and creates safe spaces for teens, particularly youth of color. Community MVP, recognized by the NFL Players Association for his leadership in mental health advocacy, including a $10,000 donation to the Dallas school system, mental health services. Youth camps. He hosts free youth camps focusing on football skills and mental health development in his hometown of Coppell, Texas, through his foundation. Food insecurity. He partnered with the Interfaith Food Pantry Network, donating to provide meals for families facing hunger. Mentorship. He serves as an ambassador for Big Brothers Big Sisters, supporting young people in achieving their dreams. Inspiration. Encourages teammates to join community efforts such as packaging meals for families in need. His motivation. Thomas's efforts are deeply personal, stemming from the loss of his sister, Mayway Thomas, to suicide in 2020, driving his mission to break stigmas and provide support. It's a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, he does so much here. I mean, he is really, really involved in a lot of different things. He's given to schools and teens and,
youth camps
and food serving agencies. I mean, just all over the place.
But he's working very heavily with mental illness and having those
Absolutely.
conversations because of what happened to his sister. So
Yeah, absolutely.
great work.
Yeah,
great
some
work.
great work. Absolutely. All right. Well, now we'll go on to our locks of the week. All right. Oh, Danny.
The only light I have right now. Throw me a bone here.
Ah, God,
All right,
Danny.
so go ahead. Who'd you pick?
I picked Philly, your Philadelphia Eagles, to beat San Francisco 49ers at home.
I know.
And they couldn't do it. San Francisco beat them 23-19. So that makes me for the year 6-13 now.
You wanted a
2 points.
two-time point. 2 points.
God, Danny.
All right. So I had the Chargers against the Patriots.
Yeah.
And the Patriots won 14-3.
Wow.
And my record is whopping 11-8.
11-8. That's 5 games up on me now.
Yes, sir. Do you want to raise that up to 3 points?
No. I think we'll just keep it at 2 for right now.
Okay, good.
Maybe at the Super Bowl,
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. So who do you have next week, Carl?
Next week I have New England, who is hosting Houston now.
'Cause they beat Pittsburgh,
Houston beat Pittsburgh last night.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take New England at home. New England's been playing pretty well, as you noticed in your win last week. But Houston had a really good game last night against Pittsburgh. They really came on in the second
Aaron Rodgers
half.
was not happy in this press conference. He was just
I bet he was not.
upset. He got up and walked out.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
And I have the Denver Broncos against the Buffalo Bills.
Right, but the Broncos are the home team.
Oh, they are. You're right.
Yes.
Oh.
So I guess you're taking Denver over Buffalo.
Yeah, I'll take Denver then.
Okay, there you go.
The way I'm going, it's good. No concerns here. No concerns here.
Okay, well, hopefully I can get back on track.
They had it
this
wrong
week.
line. They had it backwards. Okay.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'll pick Denver. It's all right. I'll still be 13-8 next week. It's
Yeah,
fine.
okay. Denver's the number 1 seed.
They are,
so
yes.
there you go.
Yep.
And the Bills are the 7 seed.
Yep.
But they're my team to go to the playoffs or go to the Super Bowl.
yeah.
So hopefully,
And the Bills
they'll
are
stay in
playing
there.
really well.
Yeah, the Bills are playing really well. Denver had a bye week, though, so they should be pretty rested. And, they got a really good defense. So,
All right. We'll see. All right, so stay tuned for our wrap-up after this message.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carl Falconer, the president and CEO of Pathlight Home. And I'm often asked by many in the community, what can I do to help end homelessness? I would like to invite you to join Pathlight Home's efforts. Pathlight Home is a 501c3 nonprofit organization in Central Florida. We currently have 560 units of housing that we provide to individuals experiencing homelessness. But we also provide additional support through employment resource centers and mental health services. We have a drop-in day center where people can come in from the heat, do laundry, get meals, all in preparation to get them into housing eventually and off the streets. Community involvement is key to the success of our efforts, and we love when community members want to get involved with Pathlight Home. There are 3 things we invite you to do to help. Number 1, consider supporting us with funding. No donation is too small, and every dollar has an impact on our community. You can go to pathlighthome.org and click our donate button to contribute anytime. Number 2 is volunteering. We'd love to have volunteers come in and help us with any of our projects. We have ongoing projects and needs, but are also open to individuals and groups sharing specific talents in ways that build up our residents. Number 3, is take a tour with us. Come here to our facility and see what we do for yourself. It's the best way to get an inside look at what we're doing at Pathlight Home each day. We think it's important to understand the work it takes to fight homelessness and love the opportunity to meet community members who are passionate about the issue. We love our Central Florida community and are grateful every day for the continued support. And again, to get involved, go to pathlighthome.org. Thank you. Welcome to the fourth quarter, where we will wind down this episode by reflecting on a homelessness MVP and fumble of the week before wrapping up with our key takeaway.
All right, so let's start with our MVP of the week. So this comes from Allentown, Pennsylvania. On Sunday morning, about 24 members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community's Lehigh Valley chapter gathered at its mosque in Salisbury Township to pack essential supply kits and then distribute them directly to individuals experiencing homelessness in Allentown. How many so far? Asked Fareed Ahmad, the community's general secretary, to avoid putting a completed bag into a box. A lot, he replied. Ahmad said that the goal was to put together 100 bags to be distributed later that morning downtown in conjunction with Life Church Allentown. The group, which consisted of community members of all ages, was approaching 200 bags when the donated supplies started to run low. As a postal carrier, Ahmad said he has a pretty good understanding of what supplies are needed, though he couldn't imagine living outside during the winter. That's why gloves, hand warmers, lip balm, and fingernail clippers are part of the package. I stay outside almost 12 hours every day in cold weather, Ahmad said. I know what type of stuff I need at that time of the day, and I realize the homeless are out there for 24 hours. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community does this drive twice a year to address the needs of the local homeless population, which continues to grow. The community itself is a 137-year-old international movement that preaches against violent interpretations of Islamic teachings. The group believes its founder, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, was a messiah sent by God to end religious wars and bloodshed. The community's ongoing commitment to its guiding principle, love for all, hatred for none, includes regular blood drives, food drives, and programs to feed the hungry throughout the year.
Yeah, we talked about this, I don't know if it was last episode or a few episodes ago, about the faith-based community really getting involved and how they can really rally people around, again, love your neighbor.
Yeah.
You
Something
know?
as simple as making bags.
Absolutely.
You know,
Give bags out there to people. That's right, exactly. And I love the fact that he really thought about this because he targeted what he was going to try and make sure have in the bags based on his own experience of being out in the elements. You know, he thought about hand warmers. He thought about gloves.
Lip balm.
You know,
we don't even think about lip balm.
Fingernail clippers. I mean, things like that. I mean, just he really put some thought into it. Which is really great.
Love all, hatred for none.
That's right. Absolutely. Love for all, hatred for none. That's how we feel, right, Danny?
Yeah, love for all.
Hatred for none.
For your Bears, I got love for
maybe
all.
Maybe the Packers and the Eagles, maybe. You know, exactly. But anyway, all right. Now on to our homelessness fumble of the week. This one comes from Cleveland, Ohio. A Cuyahoga County housing program is losing 20% of its county funding, but the program leaders said the changes should not leave people homeless. The Emerald Development and Economic Network, EDEN, a Cuyahoga County Housing for Homelessness organization, sent letters to its tenants at the end of last month informing them of the 20% reduction to the funding it receives from the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County to take effect in the new year. So they're getting, obviously, some slash funding from one of their funding sources. Eden Executive Director Elaine Gimmel said this will likely lead to staff cuts and selling properties. But even if Eden needs to sell properties where people in the program are currently living, it will work to move tenants to different properties. Our goal is to make sure that they have another place to move to. It is not to have them not have anywhere to go or to be unhoused. Absolutely not, Gimmel said. If we're getting reduced by 20%, we obviously can't handle the same expenses for the year. The funding cuts to Eden stem from its reduction in funding from the recently passed Cuyahoga County budget, which cut $8.5 million from the ADAMHS board over 2 years, according to the board. While the ADAMHS board determines funding levels for contracted agencies, we do not direct how agencies implement reductions. If a provider determines that a program change could affect housing for individuals, we expect them to notify us and to ensure that residents are offered alternative, appropriate placements, said the board chair or the board CEO, Jason Joyce, in a statement. So this is just, I don't know, maybe a sign of the times, maybe a sign of different things. Unlike some of the other things that we've seen in our fumbles of the week, this one does not seem to be an intentional, bad position or bad, bad blood that they have here. They're getting cut. I mean, the county budget is going down, and they had to make cuts. Yep. Unfortunately, it's going to affect the housing programs, and that's just the nature of what happens when funding gets cut. But again, in our funding episode, we talked about how you've got to have diversified funding. You've got to be able to flex some of that funding or move some funding to different places and things like that, because a 20% cut in any funding source is really gonna make you think about what your choices are.
It's gonna impact the way they do their day to day.
Absolutely.
So it's not a full fumble, but it just shows that when cuts happen, it usually, and it affects housing.
Oh, absolutely.
Which we're very limited on. Yeah. Now they have to come up with plan B.
That's right.
And probably plan C. And I hope that they're able to move these people and nobody lose housing.
Yeah, I hope so too. But it sounds like they're committed to it. And again, that I think that's the other thing is that, sometimes, I'm going to say this, Danny, and it's not going to be the politically correct thing to say from our standpoint, but sometimes in our industry, provider agencies overinflate kind of the emergency of what's happening, right?
Yep.
They get a funding cut of this or that or whatever the amount is, and they make it seem like the whole program or the whole agency is going to shut down or something like this if they don't get funding.
Right.
I have to say it's a good marketing strategy because it often gets people to rally behind them. But from a reality standpoint, it's not a great strategy because it could happen multiple times. And it's like that boy who cried wolf. You can only do it so many times. And people start saying, hold on, now why do you keep losing funding over and over and over again? Maybe your programs really aren't that good.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe that's what the problem is. And in this case, I think they have good programs. And again, I don't think this is an intentional thing. And I love the fact that they said, we determine the funding levels, but we don't determine where the cuts come from. They leave that up to the agencies, and I'm glad they do because the agency has the most knowledge about where they can make cuts, if at all possible, and still try to keep as many people in housing as possible. Yeah. So I love that. I think it's, like you said, it's not a full-on terrible fumble in terms of, the worst thing ever, but it does show that funding sources can get cut at any time. They're very fragile, and you can lose funding sources anytime, anywhere, basically.
And you have to be prepared of what the next step is.
Absolutely.
If you do lose it. So
but that's also why funding sources or why nonprofit agencies are always looking for more funding.
More funding,
and always looking for more support because they want to make sure that they're guarded against these cuts if and when they happen.
And especially if the programs are running well, you want to keep trying to get more funding for it to expand the program.
Absolutely.
And or keep the program.
Absolutely, and or keep the program. That's exactly right. Yeah.
All right. And finally, here's our key takeaway for this episode. If you and I can determine how our money is spent, then everyone should have the opportunity to get to a place where they can do so too. Right or wrong money is a key part of independence in our country.
It is.
Yep.
I mean, they say money can't buy happiness, but I know people who have a lot of money and they certainly don't seem to have as much stress as a lot of other people.
Yep.
And so I think, I think that's the idea here is, that whole idea of money is freedom, really. I mean, money allows you to do things and to, live the way that you want to be able to live. At least in our country, it does. There are certainly countries where it's not as important or it's not as emphasized as much. But here in the United States, money is a key part of that. If you want to have independence, if you want to be able to live your life the way you want, you're going to have some amount of money.
Definitely. Yep. 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, that concludes our episode for the week. I do want to remind everybody that the point-in-time counts are going on across the country at the end of January. So please check with your local continuum of care agencies to find out how you can be involved in volunteering for the point-in-time counts. Again, we'll keep bringing this up through the end of January because that's when the point-in-time counts are. But please make sure that you reach out and volunteer for your point-in-time count. Also remember, if you have any questions or comments for us, please email us at questions@pathlighthome.org. As always, we leave the last words for our beloved co-founder, the late Reverend Fred Maxwell. Take it away.
I'm still dreaming. That we will become able and sufficient to increase the housing of homeless. This is merely a beginning.